Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So obviously on Saturday we have Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders in a super middleweight unification fight. Now when this fight got announced, in my opinion from what I was gathering on social media, there really wasn't much of a buzz about this fight when it first got announced. But as we get closer, in particular this fight week, the anticipation for this fight has definitely increased, and let's be honest, that is mainly down to the antics of Billy Joe Saunders. He certainly got more people interested in this fight, and, you know, quite frankly, from what I see online, most people are going to be tuning in to watch this guy get beat. So he's definitely doing his part to sell the fight, there's no doubt about it. But really I wanted to delve a little further into that, basically give you my thoughts on what he's been saying, what he's been doing, and how I feel about it, what I think about it. So yeah, I mean, one thing I will say with Canelo Alvarez, basically ever since the second Golovkin fight, I've noticed a theme with Canelo opponents. Most of these guys, from my eye, just seem happy to be there. They don't really want to ruffle any feathers, they're happy to get the opportunity to fight Canelo, and basically just happy to pick up a payday. That's the impression I've got from a lot of these recent Canelo opponents. And a lot of these guys, for me, have shown Canelo far too much respect, both inside and outside the ring. And Billy Joe Saunders certainly does not fit that mould. So that in itself I find quite refreshing, if I'm being honest. Now, why he's acting the way he's acting, some people say it's because he's scared and he knows he's going to lose. Maybe, I guess, but I think Billy Joe Saunders is just trying to be a nuisance to get under Canelo Alvarez's skin. Say what you want about Canelo Alvarez, but he is the consummate professional. He's always in shape, he wants things his way, he's a very regimented guy, Canelo Alvarez. And Billy Joe Saunders, it looks like he's trying his best to upset that and basically unsettle Canelo. Obviously we've had this debacle about ring size. Apparently now this ring is 22 foot, when at the start of fight week it was supposed to be 18 foot. So it looks like Billy Joe has actually been able to make Canelo take a concession going into this fight. And that in itself, Billy Joe could be viewing that as a mental victory. I know it sounds silly, but Sugar Ray Leonard once said, the fight doesn't start in the ring, it starts in the negotiation rooms. You know, he was basically out there not only to beat his opponents in the ring, but also to beat these guys in the negotiation rooms, essentially. And that's when it starts. So maybe Billy Joe Saunders is taking a leaf out of that book, kind of thing. You're never going to get the best out of Canelo in the negotiation rooms, he is the A-side. But you know, it looks like Billy Joe's been able to get the 22 foot ring size, and if that's the case, I'm sure he's viewing that as a mental victory in his own head. And once again, that could make him more comfortable on fight night. Billy Joe Saunders and his team have also brought up on numerous occasions scorecards in the past for Canelo Alvarez fights, the two Golovkin fights for example, and the Erislandy Lara fight, and they keep on referencing these fights in interviews. I think the reason behind that, number one, is to try, I doubt it would work, but to try and put some sort of pressure on the officials, on the judges, to actually score this fight fairly, in Billy Joe's mind. I think that's one of the reasons why they keep on mentioning these fights. And also they want it in the public consciousness, so should he lose this fight, and let's say it's controversial, he can then turn around and say to the media, I told you so. And also Team Billy Joe Saunders have also brought up the failed drug test with the clenbuterol, which I find kind of funny, to be honest, considering Billy's failed a drug test on his own right. But you know, they're basically pulling out all the stops, pulling out all the dirt on Canelo, letting it be known in interviews and whatnot. And I find that encouraging, quite frankly. Nobody's made this much of a fuss before a Canelo fight than Billy Joe Saunders. Golovkin before the second fight with Alvarez made a few comments here and there about judges, about the drug testing, etc. He made a few comments, but Golovkin and his team never made as much of a big deal about it as they should have done. Billy Joe Saunders is the first guy to do so, and I find that somewhat encouraging. He doesn't sound like a guy to me who's going in there to lose. I think right now his mindset is that he genuinely wants to win this fight, and I really wasn't convinced about that when this fight was signed. I thought kind of, you know, Billy Joe would go in there with a mindset that, yeah, listen, I've got half a chance, but I'm just happy to pick up a payday kind of thing. But from what I've been hearing of Billy Joe Saunders, I do genuinely believe he wants to win this fight and he's going there to win. Whether he feels that way after feeling a couple of body shots, God only knows, but I think he's in the right mindset going into this fight. I do believe he's trying to unsettle Canelo Alvarez, trying to get in his head, and it's definitely worth a go at the end of the day. And yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to this fight a lot more now than I was a few weeks ago, I have to say. But all in all, listen, I think Billy Joe's doing the right thing, to be honest. I would do something similar if I was fighting Canelo, but nevertheless, obviously this fight week we've been hearing about judging, ring size, etc. Despite all of that, you know, when you put these two guys together, I do believe Canelo Alvarez is a much better fighter than Billy Joe Saunders all around. He's much more versatile, much more experienced, and in my opinion, a lot more skilled. So regardless of all of that, I do make Canelo a big favourite, even if like the judges are bang on the middle and fair. I think Canelo's going to have too much for Billy Joe Saunders, but at the end of the day, Billy Joe Saunders is really doing what he should be doing, you know, trying to throw a monkey wrench in the equation and see what happens, try and unsettle this guy, you know, try and take him out of his comfort zone and whatnot. Because quite frankly, the last few Canelo fights on DAZN, I've really not been impressed with the attitude of some of Canelo's opponents, quite frankly. I'm talking about guys like, obviously, Rocky Fielding, Callum Smith, Sergey Kovalev. I don't think these guys went into that Canelo fight with as much ambition and belief as they should have had. Whereas Billy Joe Saunders, to me, at least sounds like he wants to be there. Maybe he's lying, maybe he's just putting on a big show for us all, who knows, but I find it refreshing, quite frankly. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Peace.